The jungle has always been a mysterious place. People have gone in them and never got to return. Even though they only make up 7% of the Earth's land surface, and that number is going down every year, they are home to half of all living things on the planet. And what's worse, we don't know a lot of them. Starting number 14 is El Mirador's Lost City. El Mirador in Guatemala was founded in 1926. It was built around the year 1000 AD and is one of the most interesting archaeological finds ever made in the Americas. The Washington Post says that this amazing lost city is 7 miles wide, that it was once home to about 80,000 people, and that it has what may be the most impressive man-made structure in Central America, a pyramid with a base that is almost 400 feet long and a height of 236 feet. Next is an old UFO that was seen flying over the Amazon rainforest. Some of the things on this list definitely 100% exist, but the evidence for other things isn't as strong, and this is one of those things. Still, aren't all UFO sightings a little bit of a guess? Well, in 2016, a strange object was caught on satellite images hidden in the Amazon canopy in the Brazilian state of Rondônia. Some viewers thought its origins and explanation could be alien in nature. A member of Secure Team 10, a group that looks into UFOs, told the Mirror that a person looking at Google Maps saw the shiny orbs. He also said that people had seen UFOs in the Amazon rainforest before. Moving on to number 12 is the strange rings of the Amazon. Scientists now know that the mysterious Amazon rings are as old as the jungle itself. They may have been used for defense, irrigation, or religious ceremonies. Live Science says that the ring-shaped ditches were made by the first people to live in the area. Archaeologists would love to know what they were used for and how they were made. But the rings also raise some very interesting. The Amazon rainforest was changed by prehistoric people before the Europeans came in 1492. Next on our list is a German hideout in the Argentine jungle. In the Argentine province of Misiones, there is a park called Tequare. In the park, there is a mysterious shelter that people think is the site of a secret hideout from World War II. The Guardian says that in 2015, archaeologists digging at the site found 5 German coins made between 1938 and 1941, and a piece of porcelain with the words "Made in Germany" on it. The Germans had a secret plan to build shelters for top leaders in case they lost. The head of the research team, Daniel Chavalzon, told the newspaper. These shelters were built in places that were hard to reach, like the middle of a desert, a mountain, a cliff, or the middle of the jungle. Number 10 is a long-lost Mayan city. It's pretty well known that the Maya were smart about the stars. Some people may have heard of the Mayan calendar, but it is often confused with the Aztec calendar, and it never gets the credit it deserves. Still, a 15-year-old Canadian boy named William Gaduri has put the Mayans' ability to look at the stars to the test. He thought that the pre-Columbian people used to build their cities based on the positions of the stars in the sky. He was able to find possible signs of a hidden city deep in the Yucatan jungles of Mexico by using images from the Canadian Space Agency, Google Earth, and other Maya settlements. Even though nobody went to the site to look at it in person, mostly because it was too overgrown, images from a satellite show that there may be a pyramid complex hidden under the overgrown canopy. The satellite found straight lines that look like a network of streets, as well as a rectangle that might be a pyramid. Straight lines and rectangles aren't often found in nature on their own. They're usually a sign that people have been there. If this is true and there is a Maya settlement that there hasn't been found yet, this method could be used to find other lost cities by just looking at the stars. Number 9 is Amazonian Legends Boiling River. In the middle of the Peruvian Amazon, there is a river that kills everything that falls into it. What's even stranger is that scientists don't really know why it's so hot. Business Insider says that scientists didn't know about the river until a PhD student at Southern Methodist University named Andreas Russo went looking for it after hearing about it in folklore. The river is 4 miles long and 200 degrees Fahrenheit. It flows through a forest area called Mayan Tuyacu. Even stranger is that it is not connected to an active volcano or a magmatic system. Next on our list is Sigiriya, the world's 8th wonder. Some people say that an abandoned fortress or palace on the teardrop-shaped island of Sri Lanka is the 8th wonder of the world. The vertical peak of Sigiriya rises out of the jungle and is about 180 meters high. This impressive rock is home to the ruins of an ancient civilization from the 5th century. It is thought to have been the center of a short-lived Kasapa kingdom. At the center of the city's ruins is a large granite rock with beautiful frescoes, stone stairs, and the remains of a royal palace. It's no wonder that this amazing place is one of Sri Lanka's most popular tourist spots. Number 7 is Cuvette Centrale, Congo's hidden carbon bomb. Scientists have been carefully mapping the Congo Basin and what is just below the surface for the past 3 years. It turns out that one of the biggest carbon sinks in the world is bigger than England and has a total area of about 56,000 square miles. Even though this swampland is only 4% of the Congo Basin, it stores as much carbon below the ground as all the trees and plants in the rest of the basin put together. That's about 30 billion tons of carbon, or the amount of carbon dioxide released by fossil fuels in the US over 20 years. When the research began, scientists didn't know what they would find. This peatland turned out to be 16 times bigger than they had thought. Peat is partially broken down organic matter that has become soil. Most of the time it lives in colder places like Siberia, Northern Europe, or Canada. However, it can also be found in warmer places like this one. When plants die, their parts fall into these marshes and start to break down. But because there is water above, this process stops in the middle. When left alone, peatlands are great places to store carbon. The plants in peatlands pull carbon out of the air and store it underground when the plants die. This marshland started to form about 11,000 years ago when the last ice age ended. As a result, the tropical parts of Africa became more humid. But if the water is drained or evaporates, the peat starts to break down again. This lets all the carbon back into the air, which has terrible effects. Now, because it was just recently found and isn't really protected, this peatland is at risk of being cleared of trees and drained to make room for farming, especially palm oil. The same thing happened in Indonesia, where in the last few decades, more than 36,000 square miles of peatland were dug up to make room for palm tree plantations. Coming next is Costa Rica's stone spheres. Scientists think that the first giant stone balls were made around 600 AD in the Diquís Delta area of Costa Rica. Science Daily says that there are about 300 of these spheres, and no one really knows why they are there. The biggest one is 8 feet in diameter and weighs a huge 16 tons. The balls were first talked about in the late 1800s, but scientists didn't start looking into them until the 1930s. They were also the inspiration for the big stone ball in the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark that almost crushed Indiana Jones. Number 5 is zombie fungus. Cordyceps is a group of fungi that can be found all over the world, but most of the almost 400 species live in the humid and tropical parts of Asia, in places like China, Nepal, Japan, Bhutan, Korea, Vietnam, and Thailand. They infect an insect, usually an ant, but it depends on the type of cordyceps. Then they take control of the poor creature. Since 85% of the world's insects live in rainforests, it makes sense that the fungus likes to eat ants. For example, 1 hectare of tropical forest is thought to be home to more than 8 million ants. When the spores of these fungi come in contact with these ants, they get sick right away. And then, just like in a sci-fi movie, the fungus takes over the ant's body and makes it climb as high as it can on the leaves. There, the ant will attach itself to a leaf or twig and then die. Next, the fungus will grow from the ant's head and over the next 3 weeks form a long stem. Then the next generation of spores will burst out of its tip and fall to the ground, where other ants can pick them up, and the cycle will start all over again. The more spores spread out and the more ants can pick them up, the higher the ant goes. Now, if other ants find an infected one, they take it as far away from the colony as they can and drop it there to stop the disease from spreading. What's really interesting about these zombie fungi is that each species only eats one type of insect, not just ants. Moving on, next is Guatemala's lost stone head. People think that a strange giant stone head once stood deep in the Guatemalan jungles. The most interesting thing about this head was that it was thought to be old, but it had Caucasian features, which didn't fit with any of the pre-Hispanic people who lived in the area when it was thought to have been made. Ancient Origins says that in 1987, a picture of this mysterious find was sent to Dr. Oscar Rafael Padilla Lara. The picture from the 1950s looked like it was real, but when Dr. Padilla went to see the monolith, it had supposedly been destroyed by anti-government rebels. We still don't know if it's real or not. No matter what, it brings up a lot of interesting questions. Third on our list is real-life Tarzan. Some stories are more strange than fiction, and the story of Ho Van Than and his son Ho Van Lang is one of them. Than and his 2-year-old son Lang ran away from the Vietnam War in 1972 after a U.S. bomb killed his wife and 2 other children. They went deep into the Vietnamese jungle, where they stayed for 41 years. The 2 of them lived in tree houses and wore loincloths made from tree bark. They got everything they needed from the land and didn't talk to anyone else for 40 years. They were found by locals in 2013, and since then they have been slowly getting used to civilization. Next is the White City of the Monkey God. Indigenous people of Honduras have been talking about a white house for hundreds of years. This white house was a paradise where local tribespeople hid from conquistadors. In 2015, an expedition team may have found this white city, which is also called the City of the Monkey God in legends. National Geographic says that the ruins were first found in May 2012 when an airplane flew over the remote La Mosquitia Valley. Since then, archaeologists have found plazas, earthworks, and even a pyramid from a nearly unknown culture that lived around 1,000 years ago. The last one is the Incas' ancient aeroplanes. Some strange and amazing things have been found at sites where the Inca and other pre-Columbian peoples once lived. Some of them are called ancient aeroplanes. They are small gold figures that look like modern airplanes. Of course, it makes more sense to think that these tiny works of art are like bees or birds, but when you look at them more closely, they look a lot like wings, stabilizing tails, and landing gear. You might ask, how is this possible? So some people have put 2 and 2 together and come up with aliens. The Incas may have talked to aliens who may have had the technology themselves. Sounds very likely, doesn't it? So this was all about the mysterious things found in the jungle. And if you liked today's video, then do check out more videos like this on our channel. Also do subscribe to our channel and hit the like button for more updates.